Hello, dear friends. Another symptom of the return to the countryside because cities are becoming more and more unhealthy. Opinion piece. Looking for digital nomads. An ideal destination for teleworking. National network of welcoming villages. To move to depopulated Spain. 27 Spanish villages are looking for teleworkers. The aim is to promote rural Spain. All of them has less than 5,000 inhabitants. Let's start. A total of 27 small towns or villages in 7 Spanish regions are part of the national network of welcoming towns for teleworking, a project promoted by the Red Eléctrica Group and El Hueco, with the support of Booking, which aims to promote rural Spain as an optimal destination for remote work. It consists of 27 small villages spread across the communities of Castilla-León, Castilla-La Mancha, La Rioja, Aragón, Andalusia, Navarra, and the Basque Country. The aim of the network of welcoming villages is to guarantee the necessary and favorable conditions for people who wish to develop a professional life at a distance in the villages of the network, whether for short, medium, or long periods of time, and thus contribute to revitalizing and repopulating sparsely populated rural areas. In addition, the teleworker is also offered the possibility of having a more immersive stay, establishing contact with the reference person in each village, hosts who can advise and guide interested persons. The search for the most suitable municipality is done through a powerful search engine and filters, and in addition, the person can indicate what their teleworking preferences are, and the network itself guides them on what may be the most suitable place to settle. Similarly, you can be part of the community of teleworkers of the network, which give access to a number of functions, such as having a control panel to manage all requests for contact with the hosts or share reviews and comments on the villages of the network by other teleworkers. The network of welcoming villages seeks to grow, so it is open to all towns of less than 5,000 inhabitants who want to join, for whom teleworking is shown a resource for attracting floating population, attracting talent, boosting economic activity, revitalizing the culture and leisure offer, and strengthening the social fabric. The registration of municipalities can be done through the website. In this first phase have joined Benarrabá y Guenalguacil, Málaga, Santa Ana la Real, Huelva, Nalda y San Vicente de la Somosierra, La Rioja, Caleruega, Belorado, Covarrubias y la Sequera de Jaza, Burgos, Santa Coloma de Somoza, León, Paredes de Nava, Palencia, El Burgo de Osma, Sarnazo y Langa de Duero, Soria, Madrigal de las Altas Torres, Ávila, Rabanales de Aliste, Zamora, Milagro, Ayo, Orizoain y Binzana, Navarra, Oliete, Teruel, Cuartango, Álava, Orea y Sigüenza, Guadalajara, Huete, Cuenca, Elche de la Sierra y Letur, Albacete. Afghanistan. Several thousand Americans evacuated from Afghanistan. Several thousand Americans traveled from Afghanistan to the US on charter and military flights since the Taliban seized control of the country in mid-August. The US military set Monday. Troops rescued Americans outside Kabul airport using helicopters, US troops have rescued Americans in Afghanistan's largest city, at least twice since the Taliban took control of the country. Taliban blame US for civilian deaths at Kabul airport. The Taliban on Monday blamed the US for civilian deaths at Kabul airport, saying the call effect that prompted the start of evacuations could be behind the chaos at the Afghan airfield. Fire at Kabul airport. A cloud of smoke billowed over Kabul airport on Monday, according to footage circulating on social media. At present, it is not known in which part of the facility the fire broke out and whether it could affect the evacuation of the thousands of people who have gathered there after the blitzkrieg offensive by the Taliban. Earlier, a firefight was reported on the airport grounds in which one member of the Afghan security forces was killed and 3 others were wounded. Chaos at Kabul airport strains Taliban trust. After a week in power, the Taliban are beginning to grow impatient with the US, whose final exit from the country looks set to drag on beyond the planned August 31st deadline due to chaos at Kabul airport during evacuations. Taliban will not allow any extension for evacuation. The Taliban will not allow any extension for the withdrawal of international personnel from the country. This was stated by Suhail Shaheen, spokesman for the insurgents, in response to the President Biden's statement that he didn't rule out extending the deadline for the departure of Americans and Afghan collaborators from the country. British say they have already evacuated more than 7,000 people. The United Kingdom said late Monday that it had evacuated more than 7,000 people from Afghanistan, adding that the evacuation process will continue as long as the security situation allows, and that no firm date was set for the end of the evacuation flights. England asks for more time for the evacuation. The United Kingdom will ask this Tuesday at the virtual meeting of the G7 to extend the deadline for the withdrawal of US military forces in Afghanistan in order to evacuate as many people as possible. Taliban said to have besieged the resistance forces in Panjshir province. The official representative of the Taliban, Zabihullah Mujahid, reported on his Twitter account that the militants of the movement have besieged the resistance forces in Panjshir province. At the same time, he noted that the movement will seek a peaceful settlement through negotiations. Afghan vice president says Taliban's belief in God is twisted. Afghan vice president Amrullah Saleh said Friday that the Islamist Taliban group that seized control of Kabul on August 15th holds a twisted murderous belief in God. Afghanistan's heroin problem. Afghanistan is the world's largest producer of heroin, accounting for between 80% and 90% of the world's production. So, the new Taliban regime's anti-drug policy will be of crucial importance. Spain. Spain receives another plane with 260 Afghan refugees evacuated from Kabul, among them 14 babies. 2 more planes of the armed forces have landed at 1850 hours this Monday at the Torrejón de Ardoz air base, with 260 Afghans evacuated from Kabul, of whom 55 are minors and 16 are elderly. Risk of attack at Kabul airport. The Minister of Defense, Margarita Robles, said that the risk of an attack at Kabul airport in the current situation exists. It is real, in quotes. and it is something that both the American troops and our troops who are inside the airport are counting on, in quotes again. Spain agrees with the US to receive up to 4,000 Afghans in Rota and Morón in 15 days. Spain has agreed with the US that the military bases of Rota, Cádiz and Morón de la Frontera, Seville, can receive up to 4,000 of its Afghan collaborators for 2 weeks, while the base of Torrejón de Ardoz continues to be the entry point for those who leave the country via flights from the European Union. Spain sent special operations team to Afghanistan to reinforce the 110 military personnel already deployed. The government has ordered a special operations team to be sent to Afghanistan to reinforce the 110 military personnel already deployed as part of the operation to evacuate Afghan collaborators from Kabul airport. Afghanistan, a new failure of the Spanish intelligence services, in the opinion of Luis Gonzalo Segura, in quotes. They didn't know about it, and even worse, they didn't foresee it. The national and military intelligence services were not able to foresee the fall of Afghanistan, nor did they have contingency or evacuation plans. And if this existed, it is inexplicable that Spain was one of the last countries to activate them. A family built a 7-meter high Mazinger Zeta replica in a garden in Granada. A family in Granada has built a 7-meter high Mazinger Zeta replica in their garden. It has been 2.5 years since Balthasar's enthusiasm turned into this great project. He got his whole family involved in the construction of this replica. Europe. Belgium receives 226 people evacuated from Afghanistan. 226 people evacuated from Afghanistan arrived in Belgium on Monday. They are part of the 400 people between Belgium and Afghan citizens that the country has transferred to Pakistan, a calm arrival that contrasts with the scenes of chaos in Kabul airport over the weekend. The evacuation joins those taking place throughout the European Union, including Spain. Austria refuses to take in Afghan refugees. Austria's Interior Minister Karl Nehammer is adamant that his country, in quotes, must not and will not accept Afghan refugees. The minister openly criticized European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen's proposal to offer safe and legal routes around the world for anyone in need of protection. He is of the opinion that the migrants should be taken in by Afghanistan's neighboring countries. Turkey tightens its border to block any wave of Afghan migrants. Afghans who managed to make the week-long journey throughout Iran on foot to the Turkish border face a 3-meter high wall, ditches or barbed wire, as Turkish authorities set up efforts to block any refugees from entering the country. 860 arrested for attempting to enter Hungary. Irregular entries of migrants into Hungary are on the rise. A total of 860 arrests were made this weekend, particularly high numbers of migrants in the area. At the border with Serbia, some 20 people were arrested after attempting to break throughout the protective fence and assaulting officers with tear gas. More migrants, especially Syrians and Afghans, were found in various parts of the country without documentation. Some 55,000 people have attempted to enter the Central European country so far this year. America. Tropical storm Henry made landfall in the northeastern U.S. The arrival of Tropical Storm Henry has left thousands of homes without power on the northeastern coast of the U.S. Before making landfall, Henry was downgraded to a tropical storm, bringing relief to residents of New England and New York State. Medellin is once again filled with color and joy with the flower fair. After 2 years of absence due to the forced cancellation of 2020, Medellin returned to enjoy its famous and always beautiful flower fair. The Atanasio Girardot Stadium, with 15,000 spectators in the stands, was the scene of the closing of the festival, the so-called Silletero Parade, in which more than 500 farmers proudly presented their colorful floral creations. Finance. Oil rises 5% after 7 days of losses. Oil prices rose more than 5% on Monday as a weak dollar and strong global stock markets boosted crude oil futures after 7 sessions of declines. IMF distributes record reserves to alleviate the crisis. The International Monetary Fund announced on Monday the entry into force of a distribution of reserves for a record amount of about $650 billion aimed at helping member countries to alleviate the crisis. Cryptocurrency firms leave China in droves with huge losses. Due to the tightening regulation of the cryptocurrency market in China, more and more large mining companies are leaving the countries, writes the Wall Street Journal. Bitcoin price surpasses $50,000, then retreats. The price of Bitcoin surpassed $50,000 on Monday for the first time since May, but the rally from a months-long slump later lost steam. The Glory of Gold by Anna von Reitz. In quotes, people are suffering needlessly, starving and going without the sight of an unimaginable wealth freely offered for their relief. The earth is suffering from pollution and physical damage caused by defense technologies and misguided commercial products. Most nations think they are overwhelmed by insurmountable debt and are aware of their even more insurmountable wealth. The age of strife is over. The double golden jubilee is here. Let the Lord's granaries be opened. Like the earth itself, the gold doesn't belong to us. It is simply given to us as a gift to be used and enjoyed. First smart rifle. Russian defense manufacturing company Kalashnikov presented a serial version of the first smart rifle of the MP-155 Ultima at the Army 2021 International Forum. The rifle is equipped with an onboard personal computer with a digital display, clock, compass, timer, and shot counter, along with many other features. The only thing it doesn't have is music. Animals. Australia executes rescue dogs. The Australian government has begun executing helpless rescue dogs and puppies in a bid to prevent the public from travelling to collect them. Berkshire Council killed several dogs last week to prevent volunteers from travelling from a shelter in Kabul, in central western New South Wales, to pick them up. These executions were immediately criticized by animal activists and members of the public. Taiwanese authorities cull 154 valuable cats. Taiwanese authorities decided to cull more than 150 valuable cats illegally imported from mainland China. sparking outrage among local people, reports the Taipei News. The Taiwanese Coast Guard intercepted a fishing boat in the Taiwan Strait on August 19th, and on board found 62 cages with 154 felines, including Russian blue, ragdoll American Persian shorthair, and British shorthair breeds. The total market value of the cats was estimated to be about $357,000. India seeks to increase its tiger population to boost economy. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has chosen a rather peculiar option to help revive his country's economy after a rare crisis-induced contraction, increasing the tiger population. Biology. Bacteria survive 1,000 days without food and could do so for up to 100,000 years. A US team of microbiologists subjected 100 populations of soil-drawn bacteria belonging to 21 different taxa to a total absence of food for 1,000 days. At the end of the test, all but one of the participating taxa survived the starvation, and their mortality rates continued to decline over time. A taxon is each of the subdivisions of biological classification from the species, which is taken as the unit to the type of organization. A giant venomous centipede is the largest predator of seabirds on an island in Australia. An international research team led by scientists at Australia's Monash University found that the giant centipede, endemic to Phillips Island, part of the Norfolk Island group in Western Australia, is the largest predator of seabirds on that island territory, feeding on up to 3,700 black-winged petrel chicks annually, suggesting that this arthropod plays a key role in the dynamics of the local ecosystem. Venomous sea snakes attack divers by mistaking them for potential sexual partners. Every year, thousands of divers around the world dive into tropical and subtropical waters to get a close-up look at the great diversity of organisms that find food and shelter on coral reefs. Although hundreds of these dives are interrupted by encounters with olive snakes, a highly venomous species. The coming biblical judgments. Even the most self-absorbed and comfortable among us should be seriously concerned by now. Raging forest fires and oppressive heat waves are clear signs of coming conditions. Most families would be ill-equipped to survive in hard times. Intermittent gas and electricity supplies, fuel shortages, bank closures, etc. A financial storm of unprecedented magnitude would be about to hit. You are likely to hear a lot of that in the coming years as the hustle and bustle of modern society comes to a halt and things fall apart quickly. But you can escape all that if you believe in the promises of the Lord has made to us and turn to Him while you are still blessed with a little time. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.